Today's topic is towards efficient smart contract development, and I hope with sharing some tips and tricks about how we can improve the efficiency of our smart contract. This is the ultimate target of this topic, and due to the short time, I cannot share everything. And hopefully next time we can dig deeper in this topic. Before I start, I would love to send thank you and my welcome from Egypt. Say hi from Egypt. My name is Eman Herawy. I'm a founder of Arabs in Blockchain, which is like a community for Arabs in blockchain, all the Arab speakers in the blockchain domain. And I'm a blockchain lead at Startfi, which is a platform for content creators where they can digitize and monetize their work through NFT. Also, I'm a Devcon V at Ethereum Foundation and ambassador to ConsenSys Quorum, ambassador to Citus Network, and I hold a master's degree in Cloud Computing Network. So I will jump directly in the topic. The main points to consider if you are developing smart contracts or if you want to be a smart contract developer. So first of all, you need to know the architecture very well. You need to study it very well. So you need to know how the network works, and you need to deep dive in the EVM, Ethereum Virtual Machine. Why? Because EVM is it's like the database engine, and in order to develop a good contract, you need to know how your data is organized, is being manipulated or understood. So my recommendation here is you need to check the Ethereum yellow paper. Yes, it's very complicated, it's very hard, but there are lots of resources trying to explain it. And by time you can you will understand the difficult part in this paper, but it's highly recommended to check it if you want to get more deeper in the developing smart contracts. Also, you need to sharpen your knowledge in Solidity, and you need to consider Solidity documentation as your second home. Some interesting thing which is uncommon, I would love to share from the documentation, and you need to take care of while you are developing or architecting your smart contracts. For example, delete. When you are deleting any item in the smart contract, actually you are not removing it. You are resetting the value of this item into the default value, the initialized value. If it's integer, it will be 0. If it's Boolean, it will be false, for example. And if you are if you have defined or a mapping, actually, if you said delete mapping, this mapping won't be deleted. You need to delete item by item. So if you just write down delete map, this map will not be deleted. Also, if you have a struct that have a mapping, deleting the struct will not affect the mapping inside the struct. So you have to carefully deal with the delete because through your smart contract, if you are depending on the value before the deletion or after the deletion, that will affect your smart contract very, very seriously. Also, the order of state variables affects the gas consumption. If you just look at the example here, if you have defined 3 variables with these types, UNT 128, 120, UNT 128, and the last one UNT 256, that has less gas consumption than if you have defined UNT 128 256, and 128. And the reason why is that if your compiler is if you have enabled the optimizer and the backing of the variable into the storage, the first one will have 2 slots and the second one will have 3 slots. Also, it makes sense for anyone has some experience with Solidity. Any failure means that the status will get reverted and the transaction will get reverted. But if you are dealing with this low command call, delegate call, static call, in failure, it will return false. And the most surprising point here is that if you are targeting or you're calling a contract which is not our address, which is not exist, or a destroyed contract, this transaction will return true, which means that it's not it's successful. It's not failed. It's successful. So you need to check failure to your transaction to make sure that this address is already exists, and you need to check for failure with false if you are dealing with these low-level commands. Try to use assert for panic errors, internal errors which shouldn't be exist in free bug code, and use require to check user inputs to return to check the external components. If you are like calling external contracts, for example, you can use require to check that the transaction, the call is successful. There is no failure in this call. This is like few points I have found in the documentation, which for me was very interesting, and I hope you are like you find these points are interesting. The second or third point here is understand the business very well. Don't ever try to develop a smart contract where where the business logic for this contract are not clear in your mind, and you can like you can like draw like flowcharts or UML. I will like include this as well in the next slides that help you understand the business. Also, this follows standard and best practices on how you can lay out your smart contract. It won't affect the gas consumption or any security, but it will affect the readability and maintainability of your smart contract, which at the end will affect your productivity. So the best practice is that your smart contract should start with state variables. After that, you can define your events. Then your modifiers and constructor, and at the end you have your functions, and it's good way to like separate based on the visibility and which function to group the function that change the state and function that not what won't change the state, and so on. Also, it's common in the common best practice is to like place your import statement at the top. It won't affect the compilation of your contract, but it's a good or a best practice to do that. Do not ever write comments for your public functions, and it's highly recommended to follow NetSpecs format, Ethereum Natural Language Specification format. It will generate like documentation in a JSON documentation that will help that you can publish with the your end user and with the community in general, and as well as the developer who are working with you. Do not ever reinvent the wheel. There are lots of good, tested, highly recommended packages, smart contract packages that you can use. I'm pretty sure all of us, like most of us, know or hear about OpenZeppelin. They have like a set of contracts that you can use. These contracts are very well developed and tested very well. If you want like to develop your token, you can just import the ERC20 contract and customize based on your preferences. These contracts already audited, tested, and the whole community agreed that it's good. This is recommended rather than develop your own contract, and maybe you can do mistakes other have like noticed and fix it. So this is my next recommendation. This is very important, and like 2 weeks ago or less, I saw this this tweet. Don't ever forget to enforce your access control list. So if you have a function which should be only called by owner or specific role, you don't forget to like apply the modifier that imports that. This tweet I like got like a screenshot from it. Has a vulnerability or get hacked because the mint function, it's for NFT token, the mint function which should be only called by the owner. The developer forgot to add the only owner modifier, so anyone literally can call this mint and have the NFT for free. Also, don't forget adding events. Events is a cheap storage and extremely important to monitor your app, and it's amazing way to like listen to your contract and search for specific topics in your contracts. In the most of the usage of this events for monitoring and off-chain DApp or data sources, if there is like an oracle listening to this contract. So store any data you don't need to actually check in the smart contract. You can store it on your events, which is as I have mentioned, a very cheap storage. This I have learned from Corey, one of my mentors, to modulize your smart contract in YOML or flowchart. That will help you understand the business very well. That help the team in general to trace the condition that we need to check. Also, if you are targeting a audit service, that will help them to like be on the same page with you to understand the flow of your contract. So before you start, you need like to draw a flowchart or YOMLs for the data or the value you are trying to guard or to keep in your contract for each, to be honest, for each public function, and after you have developed your smart contract, you can check to make sure that what you have implemented already is matches this flow, and in fact that will help you better communicate with the business team in your company, so that they can understand what you are trying to check, what are the value you are trying to store in your contract. And of course, don't forget unit tests. It's very important. Don't neglect it ever. unit test will help you like at the beginning. You might think it takes long time, but it will improve your productivity because you can check. You can make sure that your transaction or your function act as expected, and don't forget also to check on failure. So don't write unit tests to check that the transaction is successful. You need to check that if you passed a wrong data, your transaction should revert. And a good way is to check for common vulnerabilities. And for myself, I enjoyed checking any unused variables, common vulnerabilities using Etlinter and Mythics. Etlinter is for free, it's an open source. Mythics have like a subscription plan, but they helped me a lot. And I hope if you tried it, it will help you a lot. It generates like recommendation or like highlights what is wrong in your code, in which line, and sometimes it like suggests a link to check and how you can like solve this vulnerability or this bug. And I hope my talk wasn't like too heavy, too technical. I'm sorry about that. And would love to hear your question if there are any questions.
Wow. I guess like just a moment of breathing is helpful for us to settle and let all these insights that we just had settle, and we can create space for questions and answers in the chat. Thank you, Eman. So I would love to actually hear about your experience becoming a smart contract developer. Maybe you can share with like the listening audience of how everything worked. I know you've been part of the ConsenSys scholarship program, and then what was next? And then you founded the Arab blockchain weeks and so on. Can you share a little bit about the story of how you emerged as a leader in tech in the Arab world?
I'm not a leader. I'm just trying to like follow my dreams. To be honest, I have the first time I heard about blockchain was in late 2017, and since that time I decided I want to be a blockchain developer. I love programming, and I was so like passionate about blockchain. So the space I found for myself is to be a blockchain developer. And on 2018, I started in 2017, but my first development or smart contract was in the early of 2018. And I joined Startfi University. I was like at that time there wasn't a big community. Now it's better. But I was trying to find a community to join, and as you might know, I'm not fluent in English, so language was a barrier for me. But I tried to join the global community, and that inspired me to why not? We need as Arabs a community for anyone who don't have a community or have a language barrier like myself to join and ask questions with our language, because as I always say, blockchain is advanced topics, and it's very hard for non-English speakers to understand these hard topics in language they are not fluent in. So it's like adding complexity. After that, I joined the Ethereum Foundation, Ethereum Devcon Scholar program, Startfi University, ConsenSys scholarship through Arabs and blockchain, and we could provide, thanks to ConsenSys Academy, 26 scholarship for scholars around the Arab world, and they are doing great. I want to thank them for their amazing job. And recently, I have joined the Quorum bootcamp, which is a bootcamp focused on security in Ethereum. And from there, I have learned a lot. Since the 2017, I'm in the blockchain space. I decided not to leave the space because I love it. Don't ask me why. I love it. And
yeah, why? What do you love most about programming, and then about blockchain or smart contract programming?
at a certain time, I was like searching for something that inspired me. I supposed to be a teacher, okay, but I don't want to be a teacher, so I was like searching for something that I feel myself in, and that was programming. And for blockchain, what attracted me to this domain is the impact of this blockchain, of this technology in our life. When I was like hearing a video explaining the impact of this emerging technology when it's like integrated with other emerging technology like AI and IT, how our world would look like. And I don't forget this moment. I told myself I want to be part of this change. This technology will change our future, and I want to be part of that.
Thanks. We are also seeing a lot of development or movement in the world for women to join the coding, thanks to inspirational women like you, who go first and then who speak about it through their heart and make others think, hey.
Amazing experience to develop something and see the impact of this something in the entire world, you know.
Yeah. So if somebody wanted to join from your continent, wanted to join like the blockchain world, what is the typical user journey that they go through now with all the
it depends. To be honest, it depends. First, their background, what they are targeting. If they are targeting to be a core developers, blockchain developers, that will be different than if they are trying to be DApp developers. If they are trying to be to work on the DevOps, it depends. Really, it depends. So whenever anyone asks me this question, I say that what's your experience now? What's the skills you have, and what exactly you want to achieve, and on which network? Because each network has different stakes.
Yeah.
So if you want to develop a smart contract in Solana, of course you won't learn Solidity, you will learn Rust.
Yes, totally. Makes a lot of sense. And maybe just as a wrap up also, what's the difference for you? Like, how would you explain to someone who's not in the field, what's the difference between a blockchain developer, between a smart contract developer, between a DApp developer, and whatever terminology is out there?
Well, typically I say if you want to be in a core level, it means that you are developing on the protocol level. In that, you could be either work on a smart contract where you are like in the back end developing the smart contract, which your user will interact with through an interface. This interface called a DApp, which is a decentralized application. And you could work in the DApp level where you are like making the integration between the front end and the smart contract. And sometimes we say DApp about related to developing a smart contract and making the integration. Also, there is a wallet developers who are like developing wallets.
I know. There's a lot to learn, but that's why everyone who got confused now, please unit master's program.
I'm sorry, I asked you before about the target user, and you said it's okay to have technical session.
No, it's totally good. I'm super happy that you did this. I just came from East Lisbon Hackathon. There were only a handful of women, and I think this needs to change. And this sessions like this, where women from the field are sharing about their everyday lives, is actually helping to bring more women into the field, so that even like, you know, at very technical places where people build like the solutions for the future, we have visibility. So thank you. We have a question here from Kat, and then with that question we would wrap it up. Is what advice could you give to a young tech dev or entrepreneur who wants to transition to the blockchain space?
I can give to the dev first. read a lot. Read a lot. Get your hands dirty with code. Don't fear to ask a lot. Search a lot. For entrepreneurs, I'm not the best one to give advice here, but to follow your dreams. To be honest, because when I founded Arabs in Blockchain, it was a dream to have an umbrella for all Arabs in Blockchain domain where we can like have, even the Arab Blockchain Week was like a dream for me when I went to Osaka and I saw how it's amazing to have a big conference like this, and why we don't have an event like these events in our region, and how this event will impact if we have these kind of events. These events will like inspire a lot more people to come and join the community. That's why I have like started the Arab Blockchain Week, and next year, inshallah, we will have the next version of Arab Blockchain Week.
Thank you for being with us. I hope we can see a lot of cooperations also with unit masters and Arabs in blockchain.
Honored. Thank you so much.
Bye, Eman.
Bye.